What do we know about this drone attack in Crimea, Sean?
Yeah, good afternoon, SJ. Yeah, from the early hours, Russian reports of not just a drone attack, but a widespread drone attack on the Crimean Peninsula. Russian claims that there were 17 drones that they shot down, another 11 that they took down electronically. And this, of course, follows the attack on the Kerch Bridge only 24 hours ago. This all appears to be part of a coordinated attack by Ukraine onto the Crimean Peninsula. What's interesting particularly is that Russia is still selling Crimea as a holiday destination for wealthy Muscovites. And the challenge, of course, they have been come under attack, and there's massive queues of them fleeing now. And that creates a real problem for Russia, because when they get home, it's very difficult to control what they say when they start reporting about what's happening back at home. But the main story here, I think, is Russia will not want to lose Crimea. What Ukraine's doing is putting pressure on it, forcing Russia to decide where it moves its resources, because it moves them to protect Crimea. It can't happen at the front line. It's forcing. It's interesting working as on the Kerch Bridge. Just an update there. It was only attacked yesterday, but already it's open. The railway section is open fully. The road section, only one lane apparently, is open. Huge backlog of traffic, but they don't expect the actual bridge to be repaired till November this year.
It shows you just how important it is that they've got it up and running in some capacity so quickly. And we've seen the Russian retaliation, haven't we, to that attack already in Ukraine. What can you tell us about what's happening there? Only
yesterday, Putin was threatening a retaliation for this attack. And sure enough, overnight, we saw that, a massive wave of missile strikes across southern Ukraine, primarily targeted Odessa over by you and Mykolaiv just to the top there. The Ukrainians claim that 6 of the big cruise missiles were taken out, and also 31 of 36 drones were taken out. They've said that there's no reports of casualties, but that remains to be seen. What's interesting, Odessa has not been attacked ever since the start of the grain deal. If you remember, the grain deal was primarily focused around Odessa, but of course it is no coincidence that the Russians decided not to renew that deal. The last ship left Odessa with grain on it yesterday. Last night the deal expired, and sure enough, almost immediately the Russians are attacking. If we work our way back to near the start of the war, we were concerned that Ukraine might lose Odessa. And if it lost Odessa, then Russia would have a land bridge all the way across the top there. This attack renews that worry that maybe they'll attack again. The harsh reality, though, it's going to be incredibly difficult for Russia to mount an amphibious assault onto Odessa when it's got so many other problems across the top. But it's definitely causing Ukraine to have a few thoughts about what next.
OK. We're going to talk about this next. A Russian fighter jet going down in the Sea of Azov. You know your way around a fighter jet, and you've been looking at this story, and you've got more questions than answers, it seems.
Well, when I first heard about it, I thought, OK, it's a real sad story that the Russians have said one of these Su-25s have crashed and the pilots died due to an engine failure. Should be a tragic story. But when you actually look into it, there's a lot of things that don't add up. One of which is that this is a twin-engine aircraft, so a single engine failing is not the cause of an accident. It will fly itself quite happily on one engine. Second thing is that there's loads of videos doing the rounds on social media about this crash. And some of them show the aircraft shortly before it crashes in a shallow descent over water, relatively slow speed, when the pilot ejects. And you can see the pilot ejecting just down the bottom of your screen there. That's the ideal environment to eject, and the pilot would have to initiate the ejection. So he's alive and well when he leaves the aircraft, but for some reason he's dead by the time they go and collect him. Now, we'd have to, it's supposition, but this is a 1970s aircraft. It'll have 1970s escape systems. In our aircraft, Western aircraft, you have very modern ejection seats, automatic life jackets that preserve and everything. So if you're fall unconscious, you still live. Whatever happened on the ground there, the Russian equipment didn't help save that pilot, and as a result, he died. But the story around this is that Russian media, trying to generate one story, actually generate more questions than they do answers.
OK, Sean, thank you. Sean Bell there with the latest on the war in Ukraine.